Spill the Tea TV. We are back. Thank you all so much for subscribing, for liking, for commenting. So, of course, I feature everyone independent. That does include movers and shakers. So, this is a very special episode. Okay, so this is Cidnee Rich.
Hey y'all.
Hey. So, okay, me and like one of my partners, we like to refer to you as like the festival godmother. Like, you are just like, you have your hands in so much when it comes to like festivals, event production, actual camera production, artist development, creating platforms for artists. Like, you really are that girl. Like, and I just feel like I just want to make sure that I'm able to give you your flowers because you have paved the way for so many people. You literally have opened doors for so many creatives here in Atlanta. Like, and
You're getting me emotional.
I know I'm trying not to get emotional, but I feel like you make a lot of things happen. Like, you really make a lot of things happen. And like, you don't do it in a way of like, oh, I'm this, I am thee. Like, you're not braggadocious, you're humble, you're genuine. You just have a warm, open aura just about you. So
Well, thank you. Like seriously, I am getting emotional, but I receive my flowers. I appreciate you so much. I genuinely, I really honestly do because although, yes, to your point, I do just from the heart and I want to provide and I want to do that. It is nice to be recognized. I will not lie. And so I really appreciate you. Thank you for having me. I'm so proud of what you're doing. I'm so proud of this and all the other things that are growing for you. And so it's just awesome to be recognized by someone that I also admire and respect and have seen grow and get to this level. So thanks.
thank you. Thank you. Well, speaking of me growing and getting to this level, like a lot of things would have not been, I wouldn't have had certain opportunities if it wasn't for you. So, okay, let's start with I met you doing A3C. Like,
Okay, what year?
I feel like I met you in 2017 or 18. So I met you because you came to one of Poe's events. I believe you were a panelist at one of his events.
Mm-hmm.
And then I met you on my own. I think I invited you to one of my events.
Okay, yes. Okay, yes. At I remember it was at I feel like it was at Pullman Yards. It was somewhere. Where was it? It was like a warehouse, right?
Cidnee, you throw so many events between me and you, throwing so many events. I really do not
Where
know.
was it? It was like a warehouse, and you went in the back, and crap.
I
I
feel
can't-
like I saw you at Artisans, though. I feel like you came to Artisans.
Definitely came there, but you also had another one, and it was like I think that was your
Was it a Juneteenth event?
a Juneteenth event.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember your hair was curly and blonde at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was
Oh, it was at the bakery.
yes. Okay, in that back area.
Mhm.
Yes, that's where it was. Yes, but you utilized that like warehouse space part. Yep.
Okay. See, it's just been so many times, but it's like, okay, so I want to know your timeline from like working with A3C, then you had your own platform, The Formula. Then I know you kind of did things like one off with like Mike Sick. Y'all would do certain things or like
Yep.
with Work Crew. So I just want to know the timeline for how did you get involved with A3C? Because that's mainly where a lot of people know you from.
Yeah, I know. To be honest with you, I didn't know anything about A3C for the longest time. Even though my sister, she's an artist herself. Her name is Star. She's part of that old Atlanta, like for real, for real. And so she would perform at A3C all the time. And so the year so 2015, she was performing. And for some reason, that was a year where I was like super lost in the sauce. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was doing makeup. I was a makeup artist after I graduated from college.
You also told me that when I first met you. You told me you do like the Halloween dramatic makeup. And
Yeah.
stuff.
So that's the trajectory I went on after college. And by that time, I'd like worked on a movie and I realized, I don't really like this. It's kind of boring. So I was like, I don't know what I want to do, but I always loved music. And so Wiz Khalifa is one of my favorite artists, okay, of all time. Okay, he's in my top whatever. He's my fun one. And he was performing at A3C. And they were like, hey, if you work this event, you get to see Wiz for free. And I'm like, say let. So that's literally how I got introduced to A3C. because of Wiz
wow.
Khalifa.
Okay.
And so in 2015, I volunteered. And it just so happened that, like, when you volunteered, it was like, at that time, it was like some third party company, and they just placed you wherever. You didn't get to choose. I didn't know anything. And I got placed at the artist check-in table. And along with Mecca, who she's still at A3C as of now. And so we were both at the artist check-in table, and the artist would come, you know, get your badges, blah, 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 blah. And I don't know how I got there, but it was like the best job because the festival director was there, the festival manager was there, and like, I didn't know who these people were. I was just doing my volunteer job. And it was, you know, a little chaotic from time to time, as we've all experienced.
Right.
And so we were trying to troubleshoot. And so we were actively helping, you know what I mean? Because that's just how I am in general. And I just did my thing. I had like a minimum amount of hours that you had to do. And I did my hours, and that was it. And then I peaced out. I went to my sister's show. It was at the Music Room.
Oh, rest in peace, the Music Room.
Truly, like, truly. Oh, God. Yeah, so I went to her show, and then I went to the Wiz show. And that was when it was off of Edgewood. And so I did all the activations. I went by myself. I was always going by myself anywhere. And I had fun, and that was that. And then the 2016 rolled around, and after working with A3C, now I'm like paying attention. I'm following them. I met Yusuf. And so I was just kind of like, you know what? I kind of want to work there. Like, I kind of want to do something in that space. Like, it seems cool. And I went to a social club, and this was like the first time. This is so funny. Usually, like, this is the first time I did this. I researched everything. I was like, who are these people? And so I researched. I was like, who's the director? Who's the production director? Who's the festival manager? Like, I researched everyone. And so when I went to the social club, I had an agenda. I was like, I'm going to speak to these people.
Okay.
Like, that's my goal. Yeah. So it was at the top of Delightful Eats and on the rooftop. And I went, and it was fun. Of course, I'm having a fun time. But then I'm like, okay. You know, I gotta
you
I
gotta do
have
what
a
you came
checklist.
for. You had some intentions.
Exactly. And so oddly enough, like at the end of like, it was towards the end, it was like a group picture, and everyone's like, get in the group picture. And I'm like, okay. So like, I'm in the group picture. I was with the homie Nicole. We're in the group picture. And I was like right next to Mike Wahlberg, like in the picture, who was the one of the founders of A3C, the original founders, and at the time the director. And he was like literally like over my shoulder, and I'm like, oh, this is my opportunity. So then I'm like, after we took the picture, I was like, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. And he was like, oh no, you worked registration. I was like,
oh wow,
Yeah.
alignment.
yeah. So I was like, yeah, I worked registration. Yep. And so he's like, well, what are you doing now? And I'm like, working at Mac. And he was like the computers? And I'm like, oh no, like the makeup company. He's like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, maybe you should come by the office. And I'm like, yeah, totally. I can do that. Like, I can come by the office. I'm definitely down. And so that's essentially how it started. So
Wow. And you just been a festival girl since then.
yeah.
Girl, you done worked on like Afropunk, Art Basel, a lot of different things. You worked with Work Crew. Like, you literally worked on projects with Yusuf for like one MusicFest.
Yep.
Like, literally so many things. So like, we deal with like artists and artist development and stuff like that. So what are a lot of mistakes that I would say on like a festival's end? What are some things that you see where festivals kind of go wrong, or things festivals can improve?
Well, now festivals are kind of all capitalistic and weird. Like, it seems like you just want to shove as many artists as you can on the bill, and they look the same. They look the same. Like, if you go to Rolling Loud, or if you go to Coachella, or if you go to Day and Night, like, they're all going to be the same artists. And so, you know, it's interesting in the hip hop space. I feel like that was what was cool about A3C. It was very curated.
Right.
Okay, once upon a time. And so it had a purpose, an intention behind it. And so with that, that's how it started. South by, same type of way, right? There's a purpose of to that. And so now with festivals, it's just like, oh, everyone's just performing, and there's not like this
feel or more experience, or
the artist isn't getting a whole experience, right? If they're not a performing artist, then they don't matter,
right? Okay,
and like I was interested in A3C because of the formula, like no pun intended.
The formula. We gonna get to that next.
But it was like, oh, these artists, any artists can come and learn skills and meet people and then go and have fun and see their favorite artists. It was like it was like a workshop. It was like homework. It was like school for like an artist in a cool way. And so like, I feel like now the mistake is not the artist's fault. It's just kind of like the industry's fault. It's just very like, how many streams do you have? Who's your talent booker? What label are you with? Like whatever.
You think it's very political and like you said, okay.
Period. And I got to see all of that. It is extremely political. It's not as if this artist is better than this artist, but this artist knows this person that's a talent buyer for this festival. So if you look at a festival lineup and you're like, what are those artists doing on there? The talent buyer. Like, that's how those artists are on there. So if that talent buyer doesn't have a relationship with this label or, this artist, then you're not even going to be considered, looked at, put into the hat. And so that is something that I think I'm hoping that there can be more festivals that like reinvigorate that A3C vibe where it's like independent, like truly pushed independent artists. Because now if you're not signed or you don't have a co-sign,
you don't have certain relationships or certain clout co-signs, like you said,
there's no way you're getting on that stage.
Which is why I appreciate the platforms that you have created, specifically, like you said, for independent artists. One show that I enjoyed coming to was The Formula. I like the content series, The Lab. All of it was just great. I remember you had Grip on there. I literally met Grip. I met Grip for the first time interviewing him for your platform. You know what I'm saying?
Let him know, Teacup. Let him know. Okay.
So The Formula, you had it at Aisle 5, and back then, I feel like when you had The Formula, it was hard to get Aisle 5. Like, everybody couldn't have access to that.
Yeah.
So
that was, we all make choices, and that was a choice at the time. I was working with somebody that we initially met through A3C, and it was kind of just like two brains coming together. In retrospect, it didn't work out, but that's okay. But because of her previous work with A3C and the venues and things, she had cultivated her own relationship. So we were able to get Aisle 5 without having to like go through A3C, right? Because that was my main thing. Now looking back, I probably could have gone through A3C and they would have been down, but I didn't know. I was new there, right? I didn't want to
step on toes,
and a lot of that came from me knowing like really dope artists that weren't getting booked on these showcases, and I'm like frustrated. I'm like, what? And then like the artists and the showcases that were around, because at that time, this is I started The Formula in 2016. Yeah, 2016. And so 2015, 2014, there were not, like now, Atlanta and Showcase is like synonymous. That was not the case.
So I definitely wanted to bring that up because I feel like your people like you, I feel like there's a lot of us, but people like you have made it a norm for independent artists to perform everywhere, for independent artists, for showcases to be a thing. And I definitely got that feel from the formula. Like literally, I feel like now in a time now, it's way easier to book out 5. A lot of people, all those venues, like they became more accessible. A lot of people were having showcases every day. People were just having showcases with their friends. And I feel like you kind of created that narrative, that do it yourself. Like, you know, it's good to be a part of A through C. It's good to be a part of those platforms. But I feel like you were a part of, okay, do it yourself.
Yes.
And like different venues. You've always been such an open, like anybody can reach out to you. Not anybody, but I feel like people can always reach out to you and come to you for help.
Yeah.
And I feel like you were solid. Like,
I appreciate that. It's because, you know, why not? You know, like, why not help people? Why not? And I'm a Virgo, so I'm extra helpful in general. Like, it's just my nature. But it's like, I saw that too. I saw the other side of people not helping, people hoarding things.
Gatekeeping.
And the information is not top secret. It's just people need to know it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so with that, when it came to creating the formula, I'm like, people deserve a platform. People deserve to feel special, and like their art is, people want to hear it, and they should have a green room, and they should have good sound, and they should have all these things, because that helps them feel inspired to keep going. When you give someone that opportunity where they feel like they're the star, that helps them to keep wanting to pursue that, because I can, like, it blows my mind, the artists that I booked on the formula and where they are now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, Clay James was one of the first artists that was on there. Michael Aristotle was on there. Jay Newton, Deontay Hitchcock, Grip, Baby Rose. Like, these artists have been amazing.
Yeah.
And
you literally got them at underground performing at showcases type level. Like, that's what makes it like, wow.
It's so cool.
And like, speaking of, you have such a warm heart. You're so like I said, you're so just genuinely loving. And it's like, it makes so much sense that you're into tarot reading. So definitely want to get into that. So what sparked your interest in like tarot reading, like getting into all of that? Because I wouldn't say you pivoted. I would say you still do both. But you really have built a brand around like spirituality and like cards and stuff.
So, and you know, because you got a reading from me like way before anyone got a reading from me, because it was something that I've always been interested in, but it was, as usual, like still to this day, still weird. People think it's weird, or like, you're
think
scary.
You're a witch.
Yeah, you're a witch and the devil and like all of this stuff that is just bullshit. So it's like I kept it to myself because I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like I was going to be judged. I felt like people wouldn't understand, and some people still don't. But now I'm to the point where I don't give a fuck. And so it was one of those things where I was a human like all of us. And after college, I'm like, after getting an education, and we can educate ourselves without going to college, as we know. But after learning about religions, different religions, and just like socialization and like all of that, it just really made me question things. Like, why do I believe what I believe? Why is this? You know, I just started whying everything. So I went through that phase, and it kind of got me on this path, you know, from like reading certain books, and Seed of the Soul was actually the first book that I read, which ironically my dad gave to me, and he still is very like question marky about my tarot.
Oh wow.
But
wow.
Yeah. And so he and my mom, but
it be like that.
Yeah, but they're not, they keep their mouth shut.
Parents just don't understand sometimes.
I'm telling you. So yeah, so from there that was like a while ago. And so this is my 8th year, so I'm going to be going into my 9th year reading tarot.
What?
Yeah. So it's been something I've been doing.
Say since college.
Yeah. And so after that, well, it was after college. You know, I'm old. So tarot, I would always go to work. So I worked at Mac, right? And so I would bring my deck with me to work, and my coworkers would be like, "Hey, will you do a reading on my break?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And so I started doing it like that. And I did a reading for this one coworker, and she was asking about her paternal father. Like, that's a legit, like, huge question.
Yeah.
Like, and so I did the reading, and what came up, I was like, I feel like you were going to have contact with him. You're going to meet, like, blah, blah, blah. Yo, like literally, I would probably like, I forgot about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Months later, she's like, Cidnee, I just left from meeting my birth father.
Oh my God.
I'm like, what? So like when that happened, I'm like, that's interesting. And like, wow. So that gave me confidence. And so for there, I would just always like bug my friends. Like if we're having like a girls' night, I was always like doing tarot. So like everyone that's like closest to me, they've known I've been doing this. So when the pandemic hit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So 2019 was the last year that I worked with A3C, and it was a very traumatic year for me. Okay, like hated it. Okay, hated everything. Hated it. Hated life. Hated everything. I was so depressed. I've never been so depressed in my life.
Girl, I would have never known that. Could you just be so, hey guys?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was miserable. Miserable. And so, like you said, all that glitters is not gold. You know what I mean? And like being able, working in these festivals, and I'm so very thankful. But you also get to see behind the scenes, and it's not pretty. You know what I mean? And so it was tough. And so after that season was over, I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Because I'm like, I'm not going back to that. And so I was literally at a crossroads and very confused. And I literally had a prophetic dream, believe it or not. And when I woke up from that dream, I was like, tarot. Like, tarot is what you need to be focusing on. So at the end of 2019, I had already put it in my head that that was going to be my main focus. And I started working on a spiritual event. Like that was what I wanted to do for 2020. So then, boom, we know. Yeah, COVID happened. So that went on pause. But in that time, I was able to launch Arcana ATL as my tarot business. Because I'm like, oh, well, let's do it. But but it's interesting because I started that idea in January. So before COVID was even a thing.
COVID hit in March.
Yeah, I already was on that path of saying like, I want to do more tarot readings. I want to do this. And so when that happened, it just made sense to like create a business around it. So yeah.
And what's crazy is like, I feel like 2020 when COVID hit, that was the year a lot of people really sat with themselves, really wanted to explore themselves deeper. Of course, you were kind of forced to because of what was going on in the world.
Right.
So for you to start that business, it was like right on time. And as you said, I got a reading for you before, and we're going to do a mini reading tonight. But I just want to know your process, your thought process of like when you're pulling a card or when you're reading someone, like what does that look like for you?
Yeah, for me, it's not one of those things where like I'm walking around and I just like know everything about everyone, right? Because I'm very like in general, like, and that's what's so funny when people are like, I'm an empath and I just feel everything. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but it's like unhealthy. Like you shouldn't be feeling everything. I used to be that
type of person.
Yeah, because then you're affected by someone else's energy, and that's not good. You know what I mean? And so back to 2019, I was going to meditation every Monday, women's meditation with my mentor and now my business partner, Keisha, the psychic yogi. And that was my solace during 2019. I would never miss a women's meditation because I'm like, this is what's keeping me going.
I remember you saying that dealing with the festival. I remember you saying you had to meditate too, but meditate to really balance, because girl, with music and festivals and that career path, it be like you said, it'd be a lot going on. So when you're pulling the cards and you're reading someone, like how do you have to make sure your energy is right? Or
so now it's kind of like second nature, to be honest. Even earlier today, I was doing a shift. I work on Sanctuary, which is like an app. And I was rushing, got home, literally sat down, opened my computer, and like, boom, a reading comes in. I'm like, oh, like I'm about to have to read for someone. Like, let me like breathe real quick. So that's really what I do. Like I take deep breaths. I always tell my client to take 3 deep breaths and just to bring your energy to the present moment, because that's what I'm reading. I'm reading your energy. And so if my energy's scattered, if yours is scattered, then I'm going to pick up on that. So bring the energy in. And then, to be honest, I scan my body. So We all know about chakras, or if you don't, chakras are like energy centers.
I was just telling C's about that.
Yeah. And so I literally can pick up, because it's a whole nother thing, but there's different ways that psychic people or intuitive people get their information. Mind you, we are all intuitive beings, so you all have that same ability. It's just where
I got superpowers.
Yep. It's just where it's coming in. And so with mine, I just know things. So that's called claircognizance. So I just know it. And I don't know why I know it, but I know it. And then the other one is clairsentient and clairempathic, and that means I feel things. So when I'm connecting with someone's energy, I'm literally like scanning my body, and my body will tell me where I'm feeling energy. And that chakra is usually connected to a certain thing that someone's going through, or a block that may be happening there, or some frustration or some confusion. And so I feel it in my actual like body, the other person's energy.
Okay. So girl, I booked the reading. I booked the, we're going to do a little bit of it while we're in an interview. So I want you to read my energy.
All right, y'all. So I'm going to use my Light Seers Tarot.
What if a demon hopped out of me? You think, could that happen?
No. And that's the other thing. People, like, we're all humans, right? And so we're just humans. So to your point also, how am I reading energy? I'm going to think, so what we're going to do, like I said, I'm just doing like a pre-shuffle. So go ahead and take 3 deep breaths. I'm going to do 2.
When people do music, they be like,
amazing. And now we're present. And tell me your birthday.
May 26th.
So I ask you your birthday. I know your name. I know your real name. I know your teacup name. And so I'm thinking of that in your birthday in my head as I do this. Okay. So that's how I'm connecting to your energy.
Okay.
So I can ask a question. So what does Spirit need Teacup to know right now? What energies are working? What's going on? What's messages that she needs to hear? What's up? Any clarity? Any blocks? And then when I just feel it, I just stop.
This reminds me of like Cleopatra. You know how people would go to like the Cleopatras in the movies?
Yes. So we're doing a mini reading. So I pulled 3, and then I have always a bottom of the deck message, which is really cool. So I'm going to start with this bottom of the deck message along with this. So tarot is split into major arcana and minor. So we have all minor cards here, but you have 3 court cards, which is really interesting. Court cards are usually signify people. So with you, you're coming up in 2 different ways. So we have the Knight of Swords. And so swords energy is air energy. You're a Gemini. So this air energy. Now, as you can see here, he's like running. And then maybe we can, I don't know, cut to it on the camera somehow. But he's running towards this motorcycle. So this energy here is about your ambition, your goals, your focus, where you're going. And you have a clear path now. And it might have taken some time to get the clarity, but now that you know exactly where you're going for it. And you're nothing's going to get in your way. And so just like here, he's going, like movement is happening. So do know that what you're doing right now, the clarity, the intention behind your choices and your actions are moving you forward. Things are actually moving. So if it's felt stagnant, it's no longer going to continue to be stagnant because you're moving forward. You know what you want and you're going for it. Now, bring to the base of this is this Queen of Wands. So another court card. And this is cool. This is fiery energy. And this is your creativity. This is just your creative essence, your unique ability to make something, do things, make it happen. Just like you were saying, mirrored energy there. I make things happen, you make things happen. And you also do it in your own way. You're unique. You don't listen to outside influence. You go from your gut. And this is also very like spirit oriented energy. It's like it wills you forward to be creative, to be yourself, to think outside the box. And this is also very entrepreneurial energy, okay? So those 2 things combined, these powers combined, for real though, your focus and the fact that you are just innately creative and that you have this spark about yourself that's like very freeing. And it's like, I am not going to feel restrained. I am not going to feel stuck. I will always create and always move forward. So that's your energy coming through really strong. Now this is more so about, I would say, this Knight of Cups is another person. So on my personal page at Cidnee, CIDNEE_Rich. Yes, I still do events. No, I cannot do your event, but because people do DM me and I tell them the same thing. I'm just working with a worker right now and doing my own whatever. And so I'm not I cannot help. But if you have a question, I would love to answer it for you. And then you can book a reading at Arcana, ARCANA.ATL. Please follow that page. So that's my tarot page as well as our weekly and monthly meditations. So yes.
And thank you so much, Cidnee, once again, for just being a light, just being a person that is lovable. She said no, she can't work with you unless she had a budget. Probably not even that.
Yeah, like, yeah. So I will
always care about the energies and
like the purpose, and that's the other thing. It's not like in a rude way. I can't work with you. It's just kind of like, because a lot of people have DM'd me, and I say the same thing to them. It's like, I'm not focused on that right now. But if you have a question, it's just that I think a lot of times we still need to figure out, or people need to understand what really goes into an event, and I'm not in the space to want to teach that. Right? I just am in that space to be like, oh, you know what I'm going to do, and I'm going to come, and you're going to give me the information and the tools and resources needed to make it happen, not me making it happen. Right? Yeah.
All right. Okay, and thank you guys for tuning in to Spill the Tea TV. Make sure you follow me at Teacup. That's TEAACUP_. Spill the Tea TV. Spill the tea with 2 A's. And then, yes, make sure you stay tuned for the next episode.
You're great. I'm 21 years past the 27 club. It's like I went back into my past and then I sped it up. Robert Johnson, Winehouse, and Morrison found where heaven was. Heaven on earth, this shit is magic with no fairy dust.